are here today. We are going to get into an unboxing and a little bit of a product review of Games Workshop's Warhammer 40,000 Battlezone Fronteris Nachmund. Excited to get this in my hands, had it on pre-order, and today we're going to pop it open and see what's all involved inside. So if you're on the fence about getting this one or adding it to your terrain collection, maybe this video will help show you what's in it, show you the scale, and we're going to get into a little bit about me and how I create terrain projects. If you've been watching some of our videos already, I absolutely love terrain. For all of our battle reports, any battle I play, I always try to have a new looking battlefield. I try to incorporate as many terrain pieces throughout the Games Workshop line involved into the designing of these boards. So we're going to get a little bit about that, and then we're going to build it and show some minis next to it, again, to show scale. So in any unboxing video, the most important thing is the scissors. So my son Jack is going to provide the scissors for me. Jack, if you would.
Hi, my name is Jack.
Thanks, buddy. So we have the scissors. Let's pop this thing open. All right. Throw that down there. So on the front of the box, we essentially have Games Workshop pretty picture of setting the scene of all the terrain pieces. They actually have some Space Marines, battling some Chaos Space Marines on the cover. So on that's the box itself. On the back of the box, we do have, it's essentially half a battlefield if you're playing strike force missions. We like to play a full battlefield even for incursion missions for 1,000 points. So it's not the full battlefield. This would be actually good for kill team, I think, as well. But it's a good start. I think even just the terrain alone, if you set this in the center of your board, it should fill it up nicely. And we'll get into adding some kind of filler terrain around it to, if you just had this set, how you can make it work. So that's the box. Let's get into what's inside. All right, we're gonna put that cover there. Ooh, that's cool. All right, big box full of sprues. If you've been playing a lot and collecting a lot, sprues they pile up a lot. So first, on the top, it looks like we have the fence parts, which in the box set, fences, gates, perimeters, essentially. In the box set, there are 4 times 2, so 8 fence sections for the basically the Fronteris bunker. It's almost, Fronteris has a very kind of outer rim feel to it. So I'm actually excited about fences because over the years there's been attempts at, GW even did like a barbed wire pack. I remember in the plastic baggies back then. So having actual fences, I think, are pretty fun to incorporate in your battlefield, whether you play them as impassable for troops. Maybe you could house rule some impassable troops, or tanks can run over them and knock them over. So that looks like that. And then we have the typical walls and floorboard sections for the bunker pieces. And the bunker pieces do stack, and once we get this built up, we'll actually show scale and show how they are kind of interchangeable. This looks like the top part of one of the bunker pieces, so that's actually a pretty big piece, and it will probably offer some good line of sight blocking sets. This particular thing looks like the satellite, whatever that may be. We'll actually get into what that is. It could be a weapon, could be a satellite. But that's probably the most intriguing piece in the box set, in my opinion. You just can't find anything out there like that within the Games Workshop line. So I'm excited to build this up and actually see how tall it is. So that's the sprue for that. More wall pieces, identical to the one I just pulled out. And then we have this control tower piece, which is over here. Again, this one actually looks like the tallest piece in the set once you have the spire on it. So looking forward to seeing how tall that is. And it does look like it has some of those those venting pipes, which will fit into your Promethean pipeline. So we'll actually, once we build this up, we'll get those built up and set them next to it to see if it actually matches up. This particular piece looks like we got stairways, and so this is the stairway, the sides of the bigger perimeter building. So that is that. So we're into, what is it, 2, 4, 6, 7 sprues so far. We have another wall section identical to the other ones, so that's a total of 3 wall sections and 4 wall sections. So that is that, and then here is the final remaining 4 of the 8 perimeter fences. So that is the sprues. What is that? That's a lot of sprues. So we're gonna clip these out, get them built up. What else is in the box? They usually put a separator, kind of a cool piece of artwork, in the bottom of the, a little bit of a glare there, but it's actually not a bad piece. I've been actually taking these and framing some of these, which if you have a gaming studio or just an office or anywhere really, you could put these in a cheap frame, and it actually classes these backboards up pretty nicely. So that's actually a nice piece of artwork. Looks like we have Primaris Ultramarines maybe. Oh, what else? Of course, we have the instructions. Not too big because there is a lot of duplicate pieces, so that will be using that to build. And then we have one shrink wrapped cardboard battlefield. Now these cardboard pieces, some might say, cardboard is not high quality, but I actually don't mind them. I have purchased the other 2 cardboard pieces, the Kill Team box. If you purchase that one, these actually they've evolved a little bit. The very first cardboard pieces, they're actually cut down actually halfway through this, and they folded out in almost like 3, 6, 8 pieces, and all those folds I think do start to bend and crease a little bit. So they've actually changed these to be 2 bifold pieces. So it's 2 bifolding boards that will do half of a standard Strike Force. And it looks like on the printed view of it, we're gonna have to put this next to the Kill Team sand color and see if it matches up. That would be cool if it did. But it looks like they added perimeters, the foundations to some area terrain maybe. And I think on the other side, when we open this up, there'll be some roadways covered in sand. So that's kind of cool. If these turn out to be matching the Kill Team, I don't think I'll get another one of these, but if they don't, I might pick up another 2 of these to fill out a whole board if it is truly a different sand color. So that'll actually be just another a board to add to the portfolio of building tabletops for our battles. So that is what is in the set. Like I said, I got my brand new bottle of glue to open these up with, and then we got some primer to prime these. I'm not going to prime it right away. I'm going to show you them built still in plastic, gray plastic for now, and then we can talk plans for the color, plans for how we're going to build this. So we will be right back. Just finished building the Battlezone Fronteris that we unboxed not too long ago, and the process was pretty straightforward. A lot of the GW terrain is a lot more straightforward than building the minis, so the time it takes isn't as involved. I was surprised on a few of the elements while building these, so I'm going to share that with you, and then we're going to get into, I'm going to take the camera and do some close-ups and go over some of the stuff I'm going to talk about right now. So the biggest surprise that I had on these buildings is these hab blocks or bunkers, whatever you want to call them. These actually didn't take any glue. They were all 4 walls kind of slotted into each other. Very sturdy. I really like that engineering as far as those kits go. There certainly was some gluing involved, but that was my second point, is you don't have to glue everything that the instructions tell you. Obviously you can if you want, but for me, in the versatility of 1, storage, but 2, actually utilizing the terrain, I like to set up battlefields different every time. So, you know, one battle I like it this way, another one I'll put a building over there or stack a building or what have you. Doing it this way, I think, one is great engineering on GW's part, but two, it just allows you to customize your builds without kind of locking in with gluing something. So I'm going to go over that in detail when I have the camera close in, and I'll show you what I chose not to glue, which still allows the model to be sturdy enough for gaming purposes, but there's a lot of pieces that you can then switch out in this terrain package. I mean, the fences alone, if you don't glue them together, you have, I mean, it's almost like you have endless possibilities as far as adding on to it. If you get another set, doing multiple shapes, you can definitely split up battlefields. So I didn't glue any of the fences together. These pieces here are the corner pieces. They can just butt up right next to it, and you can play that through. And I think we were talking about earlier with, you know, house rules and maybe tanks can drive through these. You might want to blow up a sectional wall so you can take that out as you're playing the game itself. So I really liked it. Versatility is awesome. We are going to show some scale. I'm going to put some models next to some of these buildings. The one piece that I was very curious about, this kind of satellite array, pretty cool. It actually comes in two parts, and I can definitely see maybe down the line they're doing some possible switch outs, you know, different connecting points for these. That would be kind of cool. But I mean, the satellite array moves. That's kind of a cool feature. This is indeed the tallest building, the control tower. Kind of thin, but unique in its own right. So let's grab the camera. I'm going to set up the board a little bit, and we're going to do some close-ups, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about, if you just have this set, where to go from there with existing Games Workshop products, you know, as their collection goes. Some old and then some more current. I did want to, before we pan away, I did want to talk about the gaming boards, the cardboard gaming boards. I did take the plastic off of them. You do indeed get two of these. I was wrong. It was actually, it's not a bifold. It actually folds 4 ways. So still better than the 6 ways that the cardboard started to kind of buckle a little bit. So I'm going to lay these out as well and put the terrain on them, and you can see the length of this complex. The color of the sand of these boards, they are different. So this one here is the kill team, the orc kill team, and then this one is the current Fronteris. So you can see the dirt colors are different. That won't work, unfortunately. The other one I did put side by side. I'll show you this one. If you do have this one in your collection, the what do they call this one? The Battlezone Mechanicus battlefield. This is the 2-sided one. The dirt is closer. It definitely is closer, but it's still, this one has a little more warmth in the brown, and this one has a little more yellow in the brown. You could probably get away with it if you did some blending, you know, with the covering kind of the transition line with terrain. So you could get away with it with these two, but ultimately I probably will pick up 2 more of these just to fill out a Strike Force size board, and whether or not I do another one of these, or, you know, get 2 of these and then buy some more single sets, because these are definitely stackable. These 2 buildings here, the hab block is what I'll probably call that one, and then this kind of bunker, they do stack on top of each other very nicely. You know, you could stack these 2. I don't think they're intended to. They do get a little wonky, but if you're looking for height and that doesn't bother you, you might be able to blend some of these beams in. But multiple sets of these, I do think, are good to have if you're truly going all in on a Fronteris board, especially if you like a lot of terrain in your battles, which we do. But like I said, I'm going to go over other terrain that you can supplement around this Fronteris to theme your board and to kind of fill in the gaps. So we will get into it shortly. So here we have just one example of showing how you can display these the Fronteris terrain kits on the board itself, and it shows you. I mean, this table from edge to edge is 6x4. So if we had one more of these sets, so 2 more of these boards, 1, 2, 3, 4, that would fill up the standard 9th edition Strike Force size battle. But not too bad as far as its footprint, and you could spread these out a little bit more as well. You can see by getting another set of these, at least with the fences, you could do a true perimeter around a very large complex. But let's get into the scale. I'm going to put some minis next to, we're going to use everybody's favorite Lieutenant Space Marine figure. So let's just put it next to this particular stacked up bunker / hab block. Not too bad as far as you could probably stack 4 of the lieutenants on top of each other. So definitely line of sight blocking for troops. Here's a little bit more skinnier Necron model on top there. So you can definitely see that there is some height. Even just with one stacked building, you definitely can hide behind these buildings as far as line of sight when it comes to infantry. Now, one of the bigger models I have in the collection, I'm just going to put a knight. I think most people have seen knights in person, so you can kind of tell the scale. It truly comes almost up to a knight's top back part there from roof to knight. So you can't really hide the big stuff behind it, but I think that's all right. Again, this is a kind of outer rim Fronteris type of genre, setting for these tabletops. So there's not as many structures out there on the outer rim. So I'm pretty pleased with the overall height. You can see the height of the satellite dish. We were kind of wondering how big that was going to be. Essentially a night size piece. And then I'm calling this the control tower, much taller. So yeah, that is that for scale. Let me take these off here, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about stuff I didn't glue. So if you want to follow along with not gluing pieces and having a little bit more versatility when it comes to tabletop building from battle to battle to change it up, the main thing that I saw that was absolutely fantastic is the roof sections of the hab blocks. You can see here, this one is kind of exploded. It's almost like a missile hit it, and the roof fell in. If you don't glue these pieces on, and they sit on a very good kind of a lip here, I mean, they're not going to fall off too easily. I think for gaming purposes, you could definitely just prop those up. But in other games, you take off those sections, you could leave it wide open like that. Or the floor plates, you glue those together to make it a nice rectangle, but those fit perfectly in there. And now you have a unbombed out building that you didn't have before. So you can set that theme, whether it's war-torn, if you have craters all over your battlefield, then explode a couple buildings. But if you don't, and you want to have it a little bit more up and operational type of a base, you leave the roof sections on. So there actually is, if I swing over here to the leftover pieces, if you do both roofs totally intact, you have a lot of these wrecked tiles to use elsewhere, in other projects, terrain projects, or like I said, keep them and do battlefield setups for later. Now the fences, there's actually 8 of these pieces. I have 2 of them utilized here, and we're going to show what these are. These are transition pieces that are really neatly designed to fit into the support struts of the buildings. So if I just pull this off here, I have it sticky tacked here. You see that orange in there. But if you painted these up and then wanted to have your fences, perimeter walls connected to the buildings, they slot right into those pieces, and you can pick them, wherever they go. Again, if you don't glue these in, you can change it up every battlefield. And I'm not adverse to sticky tacking a few things on during a battle just to have diversity. You'll never tell that's sticky tacked on. The end pieces, these pieces here, are just the end caps to doing a 90-degree turn for the fence. So you can just put that right up next to there, and then let's just take a fence over here, and then you pop that right next to it, and you have a 90-degree turn to your fences. Or really, they kind of look like a vehicle denier, a tank trap type of support structure that you could just use the spare ones that you have in your set to kind of just lay out through your battlefield around the perimeter to guard from tanks. So that's another thing I did not glue on. Real simple pieces here, but the lights, one for ease of painting, but two, the lights are designed to just kind of slot into anywhere on the roof section. So if you want that detail, you could probably glue those on wherever you want, but for me, I'm just going to paint those up and then have them as a separate piece to put lighting where I want it. I did glue everything on the tower just because there wasn't too much as far as things popping off, and it's a pretty thin, slim piece to store. I didn't glue the ladder on. This is, again, designed to slide wherever you want along here and then on the back side. So that actually is a good piece to have separate. And then, I think we talked about this one a little bit, but the satellite dish is what I'm calling it. Just leave that empty. It actually tells you not to glue it in the instructions as well, so definitely don't do that. And then this moves back and forth if you don't glue it, so you can kind of pose that. So that is that. I can see some orc players kit bashing this onto some tanks to make that look like a huge tractor cannon. But anyways, those are the things I didn't glue. And then you have those spare parts that, you paint them up. I usually put them in a little container or bag just to keep them organized so you're not losing those pieces as you dress the set. Now, lastly, the one other thing I wanted to talk about, if you truly had this terrain set, this was the only thing you had, and you said, where do I go next? I bought the Battlezone Fronteris. It's a great set. I painted it all up. It doesn't quite fit a full 6x4 table or even the Strike Force size table. What can I add next? And I suggest, looking through my terrain collection, I definitely think for any battlefield, you trees. Let me just swing around here a bit. I have a few things on the perimeters that if you just take the trees, the Games Workshop trees, or really any trees that you have, I prefer the Games Workshop trees. I do have a couple other ones that are a little taller, but you buy a pack or two of these trees and you have yourself a pretty good theme when it comes to a Fronteris board, where it is kind of on the outer edges of the Imperial controlled, usually not as populated. You can really set the scene with just a couple trees, or buy a few boxes and fill out the rest of the board maybe with a forest. So this is on the edge of a forest. Another line, and this is an older line of GW terrain, but the Bastion, there is a whole line of Imperial trench works. It has the kind of bunker. Again, it's almost like a perimeter wall. You could, if you can get your hands on those and pick those up, I do think it does fit nicely onto the board itself. And, really, you could probably take some of these bits to even merge. I love height when it comes to when it comes to terrain. So, merging an older kit with a newer kit is definitely a way to use whatever's in your collection to freshen things up on the battlefield. Another option that you can do is the Mechanicum terrain that's out there right now. The drilling rigs, the platforms, the gantries, those I do think fit well with a Fronteris type of world as well, because there's probably a lot of explorers, miners, workers that are on this world, stripping it of its resources in the Warhammer 40k fluff. So these type of machinery, I think, does fit okay with the overall aesthetic. So that's another avenue that you can search on the GW site what's out there. I mean, you'd think a Fronteris base or small town would need a power source. So you got the satellite, you got the communication. I mean, the thermic plasma regulators would be a good addition. This is a smaller box set, but you get a couple of these and you pop it around. That'll give you a pop color, depending on how you want to paint your plasma effects. But that would be a good addition as well. And lastly, if you do have lying around older pieces in your collection that you truly just don't use anymore in your armies, this particular one was a quite thickly painted Land Raider that I got through a commission I had done years ago, and it was just in rough shape. And I was thinking, do I strip it down and repaint it? But I said, let's cut it down and rust it up and repaint all the paint and have this as an Ultramarines relic that you can fight over. And again, those type of things may be found on Fronteris Worlds that you could then put out on your tabletop display. And if you're playing narratively, it could be an objective. It could be just a part of the story that you're playing around, especially if you're fighting. I mean, if you have old Orc vehicles or you have old Chaos Space Marine vehicles, whatever it may be, if you not using those things, turn them into terrain. I think it's better having that on the tabletop than under your table or stored away somewhere. So that is the review of the Nachmund Battlezone Fronteris terrain set. I'm super excited to prime these up and get them painted. As far as my color scheme plans, I do think I'm probably going to stick with a very rusty approach to this. Again, they're probably not keeping up their base very, very well out on the outer rim. So, and if I want to start blending pieces in, with my Mechanicum sets, I do think, keeping that overall color palette of rust. I'm going to have definitely some pops of color. I'm thinking maybe a little red in areas. I do like the kind of the white satellite dish, the yellow kind of from Prometheum containers on the left there. So we'll definitely have pops of color throughout this, but overall it will be a very run-down, rusted Fronteris world, more than likely as we get into the painting. And I'll cover, I'll showcase the terrain once it's all painted up and finished, but it'll take a little longer to do that. I just wanted to get this review out there on the weekend that this particular box set came out. So very happy with this. Again, tempted to buy another one to really fill out a Strike Force size board. So thank you for sticking with me. And if you were on the fence about buying this one, I would highly recommend it. I think you will be pleased, and it will fill up your battlefield very nicely.